What is the current state of governance at the country's municipalities? Who is obliged to hold municipal leaders to account? Why is a quarter of municipalities in a poor financial position? And has wasteful and irregular expenditure by municipalities become a norm? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Auditor-General Kimi Makwetu released the audit outcomes for the 2014-2015 financial year. Last week, the report revealed that the number of the country's municipalities which received clean audits increased from 13 to 54 over the last 5 financial years. 272 of the 278 local municipalities were audited, with the remaining 6 having missed the cut-off date to submit their financial statements. While the findings were welcome, a cause for concern is the prevalence of wasteful and irregular expenditure in most municipalities. For his part, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Des van Rooyen says the report shows that the department's Operation Clean Audit and the Back to Basics programs are starting to bear positive results. We are live. And therefore, you can call us. Your views, the number to dial, 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle @QuestionTime24. My guest today, Kimi Makwetu. He's the Auditor General. AG, welcome to the show. I appreciate you making time for us. As you may have noticed, it would appear that there is a crisis at local government level when it comes to financial management. And since your announcement, there have been a lot of comments, people making their voices heard over reasons why things are like that and all that. Let's talk to you about, based on your findings. Yes, we have noticed things are not normal. The number is too high.
No, thank you very much, Mpho. I think the essence of the outcomes that we have issued in the last week is that there is a forward movement by quite a number of municipalities. However, as they try and fix their financial management and financial reporting discipline, they seem to be paying less attention to issues of compliance. And I think that's really the issue. Hence, you find quite a significant number of them still running with irregular expenditure, with wasteful expenditure. However, they always keen to correct their financial statements, which means that they have caught on to the fact that they must report accurately. But the areas that matter still remains a big concern for us. So you're right. Supply chain is the big issue, which comes with irregular expenditure. Wasteful and fruitless expenditure is also a big issue because it's where you spend money without gaining any real benefit for it. So those are the things I think that should be considered as central to what we issued in the last results last week.
But unauthorized expenditure increased threefold since 2010-2011 to 15.32 billion rand.
You see, the unfortunate thing with this kind of undesirable expenditures, they can only be stopped by the people who are kept to take charge, either as councillors or the people who are in your municipal public accounts committees or mayors. Now, in the absence of action from that level, surely those numbers will rise over time, and that's what we are seeing. We are seeing a concentration of lack of action and consequences for those that continue to break the laws. And I think if more attention is given to that area rather than the mechanical exercise of adding debits and credits to produce financial statements, which is fairly easy because if you get it wrong, somebody's going to correct it for you in an audit. But the big thing is to stop that, you need your leadership in local government to stand up and be less tolerant of those situations.
But are they not using the same template? Why would another municipality get it right and the other doesn't? Is it not the same MFMA and PFMA?
Well, the template is obviously the one side of it because we can all get the same templates, but if our conduct of these affairs goes from different angles, we'll get different results. So it's a matter of does leadership pay attention to acting as leaders when these things arise? So we can have the same template in essence, but it depends whether your decision is based on the interests of those communities that must have access to this funding, or whether it is based on other interests. And that's really the differentiator here.
And why is Western Cape, Gauteng, and KwaZulu-Natal performing better than the others?
Well, if you remember the audit work that we have been doing over the last 5 to 10 years, it's always triggered the need for leadership to act. I'm sure you'll remember these words from 5 years or so ago. What characterizes those 3 provinces is the fact that they responded positively to that call early on. So it means that somewhere around 2011, 2012, they were already activating their systems to respond to those audit issues, while the rest of them that you have, like Limpopo, Northwest, Northern Cape, Eastern Cape to some extent, and Mpumalanga, all of those have kind of taken baby steps to get off the starting point. So that's why they are battling now, because they haven't taken seriously some of the recommendations that were put up by the auditors. Among them are issues like identifying people with the requisite skills to do the work, acting on those that continue to flout processes and procedures by putting them out of the system if that is necessary, or meting out consequences for those that continue to break the rules.
That's where I wanted to get to. Are there consequences for those who break the rules?
Well, the evidence of what is in these accounts shows that had there been consequences, and consequences were directed at putting the right systems and the right people, you probably would have ended up with a different outcome. So clearly this outcome is indicative of very little being done to take to task those that do not do their work properly.
Consultancy costs seem to have also taken quite almost R1 billion.
Well, yeah, that's the number, 892 million. That's a big number. It's a big number in the sense that you could have done something else with part of that money. The reason we think so is that the results of those municipalities, some of them that have used consultants, are no better than the day before they used them.
Okay, let's take Andrew. Andrew, you're in KZN. Welcome.
Yes, Paul. Yes, I must say we thank Mr. Makwetu very much. He's a black guy, and he's climbing high, and he's doing the best thing ever in this country, because people believe that black people can't do. They're not capable. They say that, and they say this, especially in political circles. But my question is, why those people who are not those who are not doing in the municipalities, who are not doing their work very well, and those who don't even do their work, then they're resulting in a lot of money lost. Why are they not immediately identified and put into jail? In this instance, if you go to countries like USA, you find that immediately the person is said to be corrupting or doing anything wrong. They stop him working. Then they start investigation. In South Africa, they start with investigation and later on stop him from working. Thank you, Mpo.
Thank you very much, Andrew, there in KZN. Echi?
Well, I guess the observation that Andrew makes is one that is generally understood in the public domain to be what we experience here. But I think if you look at the Municipal Finance Management Act and you look at also the PFMA, there are very clear provisions in terms of what the role of each of those senior people is in respect to these matters. For example, in Section 62 of the MFMA, you will find reference to the role of a chief financial officer and what is required to happen in the event that an accounting officer has not achieved what is set out in the law. So I guess what Andrew is sharing with us is evidence of nothing happening despite that.
Okay, but The sector itself, does it have, I'm talking about local government, does it have the required skills to manage this monies?
One can argue that there are certain areas that will battle by virtue of their location, by virtue of their capacity to raise funding, to pay appropriately for those skills. But it is not unusual to find millions of rands being spent to external service providers who are aimed at filling that gap. The question is why, after you've spent to them, do you end up still with a lousy outcome? So I guess the issue of skills is real, but it's not a case where you are not allowed to spend in the event that you want to find someone who has them.
Okay. Lakasa, you are in Limpopo.
Yes, Mpo, how are you?
I'm well, thanks for the call.
It's Lakasa, I'm calling from Makupo. Listen, I'm calling from the Nkumti at Limpopo. Hello?
Yes, you saying you're calling?
From Makupo, Sebediela at Limpopo.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, we've been provided with the boreholes, the tanks, and the machines. So, but later on the later stage, the machine was removed, sold to individuals. So we did lay a charge for those who stole the machine, but nothing happened. I'm asking from that man if they can be able to assist us, because I just hear that the Limpopo has failed the audit.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I'm not so sure if...
Is that a machine that's stolen?
Yes.
You must report it to the police.
Well, he says they reported it, but nothing is happening to the suspect.
Oh, really? I don't know. I mean, we only audit the books here. If somebody steals assets, they must report them to the police.
Yeah. Well, you only check if the borehole were
It's there, yes. When it's there, it's in the books, and we want to see if it was bought and it arrived.
Okay.
But if somebody removes it by unauthorized means, that person must be reported to the law enforcement authorities. Whoever that person is, or a case must be lodged for a stolen borehole. An audit doesn't really deal with those matters.
Which then brings me to your powers. What do you do? Do you just observe and report and then that's it?
No. We look at the transaction that you enter into. If Mport says that I bought a machine for R1 million, we ask where's the invoice, which shows the 1 million rands. And then we ask where's that machine that you bought, and we go check it out. And we ask somebody who knows how to use that machine to start it up so we can check that it works. And then we look at where you recorded it in the books, and then we agree that there's R1 million shown in the books, and we see that R1 million left the bank to pay the person who gave you the machine. And when all those things balance, we check the people who signed for it to check whether they don't have a conflict of interests. Or we check whether the person who signed for it is a person with the appropriate authority according to the policies of the council. So we sweat every day. Do you have capacity? Of course we do. We've got 600 odd chartered accountants employed at the Auditor-General as we speak, out of a staff complement of 3,000 odd employees. So we've got the technical capacity and the people who all of them are trained to do the job. So when they do the job, we assess it and evaluate it, and if we disagree with them, we send them back. But most times we agree with them because they are trained to be able to examine evidence. And when we report this thing, it's not because of our wishes. It's about the reflection of an accurate transaction that has taken place in that environment. So all of this is real. Now, what happens to the transgressors? We issue a management letter like all audits, and we issue it to the council and say, Council, here's the report of the audit, and here are the things that we picked up which are not working according to your desires and your policies. Please act on them. So we leave it at that point. Okay. Then we come back next year and we ask what actions were taken in respect of the matters that were raised last year. We find there's been no movement, and then we carry on this year. And we find others, and we add them to previous year's ones, and we come in year 3, the same thing. So this thing boxes up over time if you don't act. Can you see if there's no action by leadership? This thing becomes almost an encyclopedia of things that went wrong over time. Mala, you are in Beggarsford.
Hello, Mpo.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, Mpo, I think we have a challenge. And then I think if Mr. Makwetu can advise the government, when coming to, there is some of the posts are very important, and if we can at least try to be lenient somewhere to an extent that we do not give the comrades those posts, I think this problem is come to be an end. Because the thing is this, they keep on giving their comrades the post. Just imagine when you say you give chief financial office, you give someone because of he's a member of ANC, is going to be in charge of that position. What are the outcomes are we going to get there?
But Ndate Mala, are you saying that the party which runs a particular municipality?
Exactly. That is the challenge that we are facing. That is the real challenge we are facing. Because there is no any way. For instance, if ever you have the right qualification, but you are the member of maybe politically you are the member of EFF or the member of DA, and you are the most qualified person to hold that post, they won't give you. They rather go out there to give someone who doesn't know about the figures, how to balance things. Then they give that person that position. That's because it's the comrade. Let them cut or end the issue of giving their comrades, the cases, those positions. That is the challenge that we are having. Until they end that, we are going nowhere.
Okay, thanks, Ndate Mala. Well, I guess I'm not so sure if you really have the mandate to deploy people yourselves.
We deploying who?
People, because he's saying that he's concerned. Comrades are, cadre deployment, so to say.
Oh, no, in fact, what we are concerned about when we do our audits, and we are looking at the discipline of financial management, we only interested in assessing whether that individual, whatever they belong to, whether they belong to one or the other church, the reality that we are looking for is, do you have the minimum competencies that are required to do a chief financial officer position?
Okay.
If we pick up that you do not possess that minimum competency, it's part of the issues that we raise as part of our human resource evaluation in the audit. So we're not interested from an audit point of view what your ideological makeup is. What we're interested in is, can you put debits and credits?
Yes.
Can you produce financial statements when they are required? Can you reconcile or supervise their reconciliation when they are produced?
Okay, let's look at our tweets and see what our viewers are saying there. Mchiga Joe says, does the AG not have the powers to remedy these challenges like the public protector and not only make recommendations? If so, that must change. Let's look at that.
Well, there are two ways to look at an audit. An audit has got elements that prevent something that could escalate into major problems from happening.
Yes.
That's a very important issue I think we must also look at. Ask ourselves the question, if it was not for an audit, how much of what could have gone wrong financially speaking could have happened? What could have happened? That's the one aspect we need to look at. But when you look at the relationship between the Auditor-General and the Public Protector, we've got to look at the two institutions in relation to what their mandates are. Not long ago, the Public Protector had a mandate which was about investigating and reporting.
Yes.
That was for the earlier years of the Public Protector, before the Act was amended. We've always had a mandate to audit and report.
Okay.
Now, there must be a difference, obviously, in the mandates if the point of departure of the other is to investigate, because to investigate is to specifically look at what this particular individual has done in respect of whatever allegation has been made. That's what an investigation is about. And that's why it will always say, Mr. So-and-so has been found to have committed a maladministration in this specific area.
Okay.
Why? Because it was an investigation against which there was an allegation. In an audit, there's no allegation about any individual. It's about assessing the processes and the systems that can secure efficient delivery of services as well as looking after the finances in a fair manner.
Okay.
That job to investigate doesn't belong to the auditor. It belongs to those that are charged with oversight. When the auditor springs up certain things that have not gone right, it's their job to investigate why, so that they can be in the same position as what a public protector would have been. Because you can't enforce something that has been based on a sample selection of 20 out of 120 items, because you're not chasing somebody's actions there, you're chasing whether the system has been used in a manner that doesn't creep in deficiencies.
Unati Grootboom, excuse me. What should the government do when the money is wasted like this in municipalities? Okay, and Machira Sishoka says, please ask the AG, is there any corrective measures that are going to be taken against those underperformed municipalities, AG?
Well, the reality is that these reports go to councils. All of the councils by law would have met by the end of January, after the annual reports were issued. And it's up to them to decide at council what they want to do with this matter. They must decide whether they want to pursue an investigation to determine why a particular municipality has got certain types of expenditure which are unacceptable. And on the basis of the findings of that investigation, then they are required to act on it. Others are doing it. It's not something that's impossible. It's just that others are refusing to act.
What would make you have a peaceful night?
Well, most of my nights are peaceful because they are not determined by audit outcomes. But I guess your issue is about what will make us happy as an audit institution is when we see that the people who are occupying finance management positions get told that this is not their game. They better move on to something else. As well as when those that are charged with having to act on these matters when they are raised, if they don't act on them, they themselves must be able to face consequences for not acting on potential inefficiencies in the system of financial management. For us, those are the two things, because once those two things are in place, we'll be able to report different outcomes. I mean, imagine a day when we say that the audits have been 70% to the point where we wanted them to be. It won't be because we did something. It will be because we challenged somebody to act on those environments.
AG, let me thank you very much for the time. Really appreciate it. That was the show for today, question time that is, and a big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, you have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.